Our next guest is another almost decade friend of mine, someone that I've had the pleasure to coach, Mr. John Downs. John's out of the DC area, almost a $100 million producer. He's done almost 500 TCAs, and I think you're going to find that John is super technical with what he does and the conversations that he has. So welcome, John. How are you today?
Awesome. Doing well, Todd. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. Hey, real quick, I had an idea for the community, and I have struggled on annual mortgage reviews kind of like forever. And then it just sort of clicked sitting back, listening to Lori talk about it. And then I thought about a meeting that I had with a financial advisor once, and they sat down with me, and I wrote this down in my Win by Noon Mortgage Coach Edition planner. And what I said, the guy basically said, okay, here's what we're going to do, John. For years 1 through 3, this is what we do. And then years 4 through 7, this is what we typically do. Here's why. And then what I think, based on what you just told me, that I'm going to tweak this future plan to include fill in the blank. So I don't know if that gives anyone out there just some brain power to think about how to do annual mortgage reviews differently. What if it was part of a plan we sold day one, but it was a plan and it was like a real purpose? So anyway, maybe something to circle back on later.
Love it. That is really awesome. So, all right. So jump in. What you picked a couple of scripts that you thought you wanted to share. Why don't you just start?
Yeah. So sure. So 2 things, I guess. It's funny. My brother is in the business. He's in Atlanta, and he's worked with me now for 3 years. And he'll always hear me say the word script. And he's like, I'm not a scripted guy. And then finally, just like a month ago, he's like, I get it. So you're not talking about a word for word robotic way of doing business. You're talking about high level concepts that then get tweaked based on who you're talking to, right? So very conversational. So I think that's the one big takeaway that I'd like people to know. I think for a lot of us, when we say scripting, we've said the same thing like 1,000 times, and probably almost like 80% of the time, there's a different variation of what we say, but the underlying message is probably the same. One thing that I was going to bring up is a lot of agents tell me that they're like, John, for some reason, when my people talk to you, they buy sooner and they write stronger offers. That's kind of the general theme I've wound up getting over the last 15 years or so. And so I really did some soul searching on that. Like, what is the reason? Why is it? And I've clearly noticed it, that when they buy, they usually say 4 months out, and next weekend they're writing a contract. So what is it and why? I think the biggest thing is I do make loan origination a somewhat brainless activity. And I even say that right out of the gate. I'm like, the thing about mortgage lending is like my 8 and 10-year-old can kind of do it because it's like stupid math. Like, it's super easy. It's like your income, your debts, your credit score, and there's all this technology that makes it so easy. So I choose not to spend a tremendous amount of time like with data input. On this call, I want to learn all about you, find out what you're doing, find out what your goals are, so I know what to present to you. And then, I definitely want to talk to you about the current state of the market, because I think that is really important. And the one thing that I say that seems to put me in pole position of the kind of like the future of what they buy is because I say, the average good real estate agent, like someone knocking it out of the park, they might sell about 5 houses a month. And that's like big. Like the average realtor might be lucky to do like 2. So if I'm doing 20 and then I'm managing other people and I'm seeing another 30 on top of that, when you're looking at 50 contracts a month in a peer group, you really kind of understand what's going on in the marketplace. So by the time we get off this call and I learn about you, I really want to dig into your contract strategy so that you know, or that we know, what is your strongest offer, so that when you fall in love with the perfect house, like to the point where you're going to hate yourself if you lose, like we need to know what that offer should be structured like so that you win. When I look at my pre-approval script, I've got it kind of here up on my screen. It's 4 pages long. And again, I'm not overly scripted. I'm just going to give you some high-level talking points in case it helps. But step 1 is always introduction. Hey, how did you meet so-and-so real estate agent? I love working with them. And then you play the silent game, let them talk. They'll tell you a lot of times, if you deal with the same people long enough, you'll find common connections. Or you can even say, hey, are you by chance friends with, and name other client that agent dealt with, right? To try to build a connection and cement the relationship. And then the other part is I say, if we're starting out the process, just give me a high level overview of whatever's in your mind right now. So rather than me take you down a specific path, I just want to hear like perfect world scenario. What do you do? What do you buy? What is that payment? How much cash do you put down? Just like unload all that stuff on me and I'll fill in the blanks. And then I'll say, as an example, I have some people that say, I want to put 50 grand down. I want my payment more than 2,000 a month. I'm looking in this zip code and I want the price to be no more than 400,000. And then I have other people that say, I have no clue. Like, that's why I'm talking to you, right? So I'm kind of framing the conversation of tell me where you are right now before I begin, instead of me coming out of the gate being the John Downs show, right? I want it to be your show.
Hey, are you tired of getting rate shopped? Then do what 34% of America's best loan officers do. Stop quoting rates. Start delivering a total cost analysis. This game-changing strategy will radically reduce rate shopping, and when you do get shopped, you'll win more. To learn more about this total cost analysis by Mortgage Coach, just email sales@mortgagecoach.com to request your personalized demo and get some rate shopping script.
As I scroll through, I do take 1003s conversationally, not in an LOS. So in my CRM, I'm typing high level points, right? I'm not putting socials, addresses, if you look at they're like longhand notes, right? I'll ask income questions 3 different ways. So tell me roughly how much you make, right? And then I'll ask it 2 more different variations to make sure they're really giving me the right answer. So super conversational, 1003 building. And then I give them their limiting factors, or I'll kind of go to their thresholds. And I'm going to get to the most important spot here in a second. But to sum up loan approval, I just say, okay, based on everything what you told me there, based on your income, you'd qualify for up to this much. And it's usually a much bigger number than they want, right? Income times ratio minus debt that they told me. Think about their loan, down payment and come up with a number really quick. And then by cash, you could go up to here, right? And it's just how much cash they want to use. In my market, I divide it by 0.08 for a 5% down loan because closing's 3%. If they're putting 10% down, by 0.13, right? 20% down by 0.23 to get a sale price. And basically say, well, based on everything you're saying, it kind of makes sense, right? And if it doesn't, we dive into the specific. So that is kind of my pre-approval strategy. It's scripted. It ends with 15 other scripts of possible talking points based on that conversation, right? And again, scripts are just high-level points. The last thing is I think I use the pre-approval conversation in every conversation, circling back to that market. Like in theory, like I really probably should be a real estate agent if you listen to my conversations. I think we have a big, powerful stage to educate them on the market. And my script for this changes all the time. My script right now is, right now the market is on fire in DC. And it kind of makes sense, but let me tell you why. So end of last year, the market was crazy slow. It started with rates peaking in September. People all of a sudden that they wanted to buy, they pulled back. They were like, whoa, rates just went up. The housing reports looked bad. The media piled on it. The stock market started crashing. The election was there. There was hate everywhere, right? Negativity and just everything was bad. Well, then fast forward past the election, both parties thought they won, right? The Republicans got the Senate, the Democrats took the House. So they felt good. Interest rates stabilized. I mean, as we sit today, the stock market's only like 4% off the high, like to think where we were in December and where we are right now. So you actually have a tremendous number of positives where people are waking up realizing, it's not that bad. Rates are low. We were going to buy in the fall. Let's buy now, right? But then you also have the buyers of the normal spring buying now, creating this amazingly competitive, hard, tough market to win. So now let's talk about why that's so important, right? And that would trail into the contract strategy, which is another script that if I have time, I can get into.
We got, can you do it in 1 minute, John?
What's that?
Can you do it in 1 minute or no?
Yeah, so real quick, I think contract strategy is all about what the seller sees, right? Seller wants obviously highest price. They also want safety. So imagine a seller sitting down, stacking up 10 contracts, highest to lowest. They'll pull out the top 3, and then they'll say, who can back out? Like, who can't back out the soonest, right? Am I saying that right? So like, if you need 10 days to get your financing done and some other contract needs 15, you win, right? If all is equal, you won that one. Should you waive a contingency? What is the risk of doing that, right? Should we use speed to close? What does that look like? Can you pull it off based on the product you're choosing? So contract strategy for me is an education of what the seller's looking for, and then how can we beat everybody else through our efficiencies and through their capabilities of maybe tightening or waiving contingencies.